Good morning, folks, from Jeff's Little Engine Service. What we have here is a Honda 5 horsepower, what is it here? It's an HR215, and when you start it up, it just starts revving through the roof. And I've already adjusted the governor bracket here and inspected the carburetor. Everything's fine. So I'm assuming that the governor on the inside of the engine is damaged. I've never had to open a Honda engine to see what was on the inside, so this will be a new one. Wish me luck. And I've been putting this job off for a while because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's see how to take this engine off here. I'm gonna have to take off the engine to open it up all the way. I have the mower tilted this way so gas won't leak out. Okay, now what do I do? Looks like the hole is big enough. If I loosen the motor mount bolts, I might be able to lift this whole thing out of there. Let's try that. Alright, which one are the motor mount bolts? Now these were 14 millimeter, by the way. So it looks like the motor mount bolts are at 12. So hopefully these things won't break, because if they break, you're screwed. It's about 45 degrees out here. If it were any colder, I would probably want to heat up all these bolts first so they aren't brittle. But we're just going to hope for the best. Keep our fingers crossed. Well, that one came out all right. Is that one? I can't tell. Nope. I think there's one right there. Somewhere. All right. Successful on 2. Okay. Maybe there's 4 motor mount bolts. Yeah, I think there's one more right there. I thought there were only 3. There we go. I saw it move. So the engine's loose. Now I've never had to deal with one of these drive shafts, because that's what's here. There's a drive shaft. These models aren't belt driven. So I think to take it off, there's one, it's an 8 millimeter socket here. I think it's the only bolt that holds this cover on. Okay, so there's the drive shaft. Hondas have been using this design for quite a while. They still have a belt drive model too, quite a few belt drive models. It's a good idea to clean out all this dirt while you're in here. What do we have here? I'm thinking it disconnects here somewhere. It's a weird looking clip. Looks like it's just a clip. Yeah. Let me get some pliers here. So this boot, I'm just gonna see. I was able to get it. So I was able to get this boot off of here just by pulling it off. So I think what it is you take this clamp off, and then there's a pin down in there that you might have to punch out. Let's try that. Oops. Yeah, I think that's a pin that needs to be punched out. Spray a little something on there to try to help it. And I have a tiny little punch here that I think will work. If you don't have a punch, you can just use like a nail or something. It should work. Yep, it's coming out. It's out. Where'd it go? There it is. Whoa, where did that thing go? There it is. So you can see it's just a little roll pin that you punch into place. You just tap it into place and tap it out. And that just pulls right off. Nice. Now we're ready to try and take this engine off. It looks like we need to disconnect this cable here from underneath first. So for this cable under here, it looks to me like maybe that's a press on, like a spring washer thing that just needs to be popped off, and you press it back on. I don't see any other way to disconnect that, so I'm just going to stick a screwdriver in there and pry it up. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just kind of prying up this washer here. And if you're gentle with it, you can probably reuse it. All right. Now I think that cable will pull out of there. You can see there's a little groove, I believe, in the cable where that washer sits. So I think I'm going to try taking out that bolt and that bolt, because I believe that if I do that, I'll be able to get that cable loose. All right. Yeah, I think I can get that off of there now. So you can pull this part off. Oops. Because it has a slot right there. So you want to get the cable over to the slot here so you can push it down and out. There we go. So I think we can pull this engine off now. Take off the throttle cable here. And I think this thing will pull right out of here now. There we go. Well, here we are. Now I have to figure out how to get this thing off. I can see there's springs on both sides. I think I'll try and pull them off. Just get a good grip with your pliers. There we go. That was easy. Try to get a grip with your pliers. There we go. I've already removed the bolt here, but it really doesn't want to come off. It's not being held on anywhere else that I can see. I've already sprayed some penetrating lube on the shaft and let it sit for a while. This thing just doesn't want to come off. There's no other way to remove it. It's got to just pull off. Dang, I might have to use a puller. I hate having to use pullers. Well, folks, I was moving it around, trying to get a better view of it, and things started to fly off of it. I found this piece. I found this piece. A big old spring. And then this piece has a bearing in it. Yeah, that was the very bottom piece there. And then this fits on there. And this goes on there. And you have to squish it down enough to get those dowels to poke through. Okay, I get it. Hopefully that was all that was in there. Definitely don't want to hurt anything. Yeah, I think it is moving. So yeah, otherwise I would have hooked a puller up to it and tried that. But this seems to be working. Alright, so it looks like this piece is coming off by itself. Looks like this must be the friction plate. Comes off by itself. And what about this stuff? I can see there's springs in here. Okay, so let's take off these and be careful because they're spring loaded. Alright, these springs aren't that powerful. They're not going to spring out at you. That's... oh! That's what you have there. A little shoulder bolt. And spring. Spring.
Okay, number 2. One more to go here. Oh.
I don't really think we need to worry about which direction this goes back on as long as it fits. Oh, there's a little piece. Oh, look at that nifty little thing. These are ball bearings. Interesting. Yeah. And there's indentations on this thing for the ball bearing to sit. I get it now. Looks like if I just tap it all the way around, be real careful about it here. Oh, don't lose that. That is the key in your shaft. And so this is the friction disc is the only part that is keyed. It's probably why that thing wasn't coming off there. It was hitting that key. Sometimes you don't do what Jeff does. Alright. And there's the top piece. Bearing's still good. Alright, so things are starting to look familiar to me. Don't want to lose this spacer. that's the last thing I have to take off before I can take this whole bottom sump cover off. Let's drain the oil out of it here. Don't lose the washer on here. There's a little that allows it to drain out faster. So I'm going to let it drain and I'll come back and we'll take off the lower sump cover. That should do it. I'm going to tighten it up now so I don't forget. Pretty tight, not tight enough to strip it. Boy, do I hate these clamps. Pain in the butt. I usually just rip them off here. These clamps suck, so I just usually destroy them. Alright, so let's drain the gas. One way to remove fuel lines without damaging the fuel line is prying it up in there. And as you can see, you can get it off by doing that. Alright, we'll get back to this in a little bit. Alright, that's good enough for now. I'll put a zip tie on here or a clamp before I'm done. You guys make sure to remind me. So if you look at the oil seal around the shaft, you can see it looks like it's been leaking a little bit. All this oily residue here is from a leaking seal, so I'll replace that seal. And prepare for a little bit more oil to come out because it never drains completely. Now I'm not sure if all these bolts are the same length or not. We'll find out. Oh, don't lose anything. And remember these ones here, there, and there are just for the spring. So far they're all the same size. Yeah. Looks like they're all the same size. Okay, that's all of them. And so you have 7 of these bolts. I have a rubber mallet here. Tap on it a little bit, see if it wants to move at all. Looks like this will be pretty easy to break, so be careful when you're tapping on it. Yeah, I'm starting to be able to see a gap. There we go. Watch for oil, because you will get some at this point. We can just wiggle it off. I think I'm going to put this like this so everything stays in place. Just put the whole thing upside down and keep a close eye when I'm taking things apart. Okay. Yeah, here is something you need to keep track of. Be careful not to lose that little washer there. It's a shim, I believe. Well, dang it. Here's where we're at. I didn't really find any damage inside here. The governor, which is what I thought was screwed up, seems to be working just fine. The teeth are still good on it. Everything looks good. The one thing I did find, which I'm trying to figure out here, it's a real head scratcher, is there's a lot of these little pieces of plastic in here. You see what I'm talking about? And like that, and that's a pretty big chunk of plastic to pull out of there. I'm not sure where it's coming from. I tried to do some investigating on you know, all the pieces that go in here, but I haven't seen anything that's black like that. So as I said, everything looked good, so I decided to open the upper end here. So I decided to get into the valves just to see what was going on there. And as you can see, there's tons of that black broken plastic in there. So I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out where all this is coming from. To be continued.